Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
I'm going to try my Kona Brewing Company Gold Cliff IPA.
Perfect, because we're talking about at least one movie that takes place in Hawaii.
I didn't even think about that. I just love Kona Brewing Company.
It is spectacular. We are unfortunately not sponsored by them, but
we're trying to be.
If they get wind of this, we'd love to be.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, first of all, it's good, but are they owned by one of the bigger companies? I don't know. I'm
not sure. Probably.
What are there, like 6 beer or 11 beer companies that own every beer in some weird way? But it's just good. And also they're pretty. Like the bottles are pretty and the labels and the caps. Because I guess in theory, I'm still collecting these caps. I said that to Will. If they're like a particular pretty bottle cap.
Yeah. Apparently they are owned by Craft Brew Alliance. So not one of the humongous ones that we like. It's not like Coors or Budweiser. Or I guess Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, it's good. It's like, well, it's an IPA. I've come around a lot on IPAs, though.
They have to be just right for me.
Mm-hmm. But it's like pineapple. Oh, that's really nice.
Nice. I'm having rosé, not from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. But now I started collecting, 12 years ago, I started collecting bottle caps to make a mural. Because for our new house, for Hemingway, when we moved in.
Yeah. Do you still have all those bottle caps?
I do. That's the reason why I was like, I guess I'm still doing this, because I mean, I kept them through all those moves. I mean, they even made it into the move to my parents' house on Merritt Island.
Yeah.
So one of these days I will do that. I was going to make a mural of like a dude with a surfboard and like a palm tree out of bottle caps. And it's going to have to be big. So we'll see. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. If you're listening to this episode, we're already dead. No.
I fucking hope not.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? We tragically die, and Will's like, I don't know, I got 9 more episodes.
Please, I guess true crime podcasts try to figure out what happened to us if it's not immediately clear. It probably wasn't my husband, but you never know.
No.
It's always the husband.
It would be me before it'd be him.
That's probably true.
No, this is just one of our emergency episodes. So if you're listening to this, we didn't have an episode ready for this week. So that's why this is a strangely...
And it's currently Game of Thrones Day, but who knows when this is coming out. A full year from now.
No, we like to have a little bit of a cache of episodes and stuff. And also we like to mix in other movies in with like the big releases and stuff. Not everything has to be super topical. And so I was like, we could do like, they're not really connected other than they were like, medium good, medium tier kind of like thriller movies.
It's like sexy thriller movies. Yeah.
The two, it's going to be A Perfect Getaway and Savages. So we're going to start with A Perfect Getaway. You had never seen it before.
I had not.
I had a streak where it was like a really good time. Like 2009 was actually a really good time for movies. And I had just gotten my Blu-ray player. And so I felt all special. And I would go to Best Buy sometimes and just pick out movies based on Rotten Tomato scores that I had never seen. And I think this was one that I just bought because I liked the people in it. And I went home and watched it. And I remember thinking it was really good. And I remember kind of threatening you with it off and on
for the last 10 years.
10 years, yeah. And you were never that enthusiastic. But
well, I mean, it's not that I didn't care. It just is like this type of movie is like really not like 100% up my alley. I mean, I do like all the people in it. And especially now, I mean, Chris Hemsworth is a person. And he wasn't really when this came out. And so it's not that I was like 100% against it. I just like wasn't 100% for it. And so it has taken literally 10 years to get you to watch, or to get me to watch this movie.
Well, and in the meantime, I was like, I had kind of forgotten a lot about it. And so I was like, I don't know if it's still good. I was like, it could have just been, I was 23. Maybe I thought it was good when I was 23. But it is a compilation, or like a strange compiling of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and read the Wikipedia thing. It says, A Perfect Getaway is a 2009 American thriller adventure film written, directed by David Twohy?
Twohy.
Okay. Wow. That's a name. Twohy. The film stars Timothy Olyphant, Mila Jovovich, Kylie Sanchez, Steve Zahn, Chris Hemsworth, and Marley Shelton. It was originally shot in Puerto Rico and Hawaii and was released on August 7th, 2009. The film was a modest financial success. Oh.
I was going to say, this does feel like a late summer movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like late summer into fall.
It doubled its budget, so.
Yeah, well, that's not bad at all. I will say, I just looked up David Twohy. He also wrote and directed Pitch Black and The Chronicles of Riddick.
Okay.
And Riddick, the animated one. And he's working, apparently, on a Riddick TV series. Maybe it is. It's called Merc City. Is a show that will follow the mercs and bounty hunters of the Riddick universe.
So he's who's responsible for flawless.
Hey, that line is the best line in the movie, so watch yourself. But he certainly has a lane, and he's sticking with it, and there also looks like there's a movie that's been announced called Furia, when Riddick finally finds his home planet, he has no idea what's in store for him. That sounds amazing. Looks like Vin Diesel's coming back. We've got to do Chronicles of Riddick at some point.
Sure.
Well, regardless.
Get the flawless soundbite ready now.
I woke up like this. We flawless.
Because we're going to need it.
Immediately.
It's going to be added to the repertoire. So we basically just sat down and watched it, and I don't think we're going to get like really into nitty gritty with it. So just like kind of spoilers right out the gate.
Yeah.
What was your take? What did you think?
Okay, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, given the cast.
I mean, you already said that we like all those people, but
we really do. But I want to go and say that the only two actual gifted actors in this movie are Steve Zahn and Timothy Olyphant.
You don't think Hemsworth is good? I mean,
he's
certainly not
in this movie.
Certainly not at this point in his career.
I wasn't counting him and Marley Shelton. They're both very good, also.
Okay.
But, which I hate that my answer is that the dudes are good and the girls are not, but it's like Mila Jovovich is an actress. Or a model, I mean. She's not like a great actress. And Kylie Sanchez still has Lost stink all over her for me.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because we get, and is that her name? Because it's Kiele. Is it Keely, maybe?
I'm not sure. I have thought it was Kylie the whole time I've known who she was.
Sanchez.
So. If anybody knows the real pronunciation of her name, we clearly did zero research for this episode.
Well, we give her such a hard time, and finally in this episode, or in this movie, we were watching it, and I made some scoff or something about her, and I said, what was our beef with her? Was it just Lost?
Razzle dazzle!
Razzle dazzle!
Ah! I don't know. Okay, she wasn't bad.
She's a TV actress.
Yeah, I mean, she's fine in this movie. It's not like she drugged the movie down, but she and Mila Jovovich are like not great talents at acting. And again, it's just like what I said who knows again when this episode will come out, but when we saw Hellboy, I was like, Mila Jovovich is a great beauty, and no one can take that away from her. But she's just okay at acting, in my opinion.
She's fine.
She's fine.
I never did see that Musketeers movie she was in.
No, me neither.
I wanted to.
I think she's fine. I think she can, if she were a singer, I would say she can carry a tune.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not like a great talent.
Mm-hmm. She's also kind of an action star in a lot of ways.
Yeah, sure. She's in all those Resident Evil movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's whatever. I'm not trying to like drag her. This is a good movie for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is what suits her and Kylie Sanchez.
Well, you were kind of scoffy with it for the first hour. It's actually really short. It's like 90 minutes, and it feels longer.
It felt longer.
It really does.
Okay.
Let me check.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but it definitely felt longer than an hour. I guess
it's 100 minutes, yeah. But
okay, all right. So an hour and 10, or an hour and 40.
Yeah. But it does feel longer. And so for probably the first hour, you were kind of like, you know what I mean? And
Well, I couldn't remember. I knew
that was the other
that
question.
I
Did you know?
I knew that I knew what happened. I didn't remember what happened until the moment that the two girls were talking about like what they were going to do with their lives, and Mila Jovovich was like, we're going to have 5 kids, 2 boys and 3 girls. And I was like, that's like one of those lies that's way too much detail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, that's right, it's Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich are the ones who are the murderers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's when I remembered.
I was literally about to be like, okay, so spoilers for real, but
Oh, sorry, spoilers for real.
Yeah.
You already said spoilers.
No, I know that, but so it's a thriller and it has a twist, and I think it's a decent twist. I think it's a pretty good twist, and especially it's if I'm actually trying to show somebody a movie with a twist, I typically try to hide the fact that there is one, because if you're looking for one, then we effectively have 6 players. You know what I mean? It's gonna be one of them, and Chris Hemsworth and Marley Shelton are too obvious, way
too obvious.
So if
they're
you're
like tweaking the whole time.
So if you're like really dissecting it, it's pretty easy, and I actually think it's still pretty good. And especially once you get to the point of the movie, I think it's like a great action movie, like a great thriller.
Yeah, I mean,
it just takes its time.
It does take what did it say? An audacious amount of time to get to the twist.
What we read one of the reviews.
Here's my biggest issue is clearly I don't have problems with David Tui's like brand of directing and writing. He wrote this too, and wrote all of the Riddick stuff as well. I don't have a great issue with it. The script could be better, but it does feel like something that's his, which I think is great. My issue with this movie specifically, because I feel like all the Riddick movies have kind of a like narrative and thematic through line, like a visual through line, I guess. This movie felt like he was trying to rip off Danny Boyle, and specifically Danny Boyle when he made The Beach.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of weird, there was like that like tri-cut screen at one point with the 3 of them running through the woods, and it was very frenetic editing at a couple of points, and like that's Danny Boyle's signature.
And a lot of saturation.
And a lot of, which is, I mean, again, you're doing this in like a forbidden lost beach or whatever, and like the sea cave and blah, blah, blah. I get that you want to saturate the water and the trees so that they contrast off each other and everything. That's fine. But there were a couple of moments in this movie where it really felt like a ripoff of Danny Boyle. And since Danny Boyle is one of my favorite directors, I kind of like chafed at that a little. But for the most part, I mean, I think this movie is like fun. And you said it was like a really good weekend movie. This is like perfect. Absolutely perfect to put on like a lazy Sunday afternoon, which is exactly what we just did.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly when this movie needs to be watched.
Mm-hmm. Watching it again, as an adult with, I feel a slightly more refined palate. I was kind of cringing a little bit in the first hour because everybody's really antagonistic for no real reason.
Yeah.
And that's just not enjoyable in a movie. It's like, even though the motivations are like, I'm thrilled to see Chris Hemsworth and Marley Shelton on my screen, and especially together as like beach bums. But other than being the red herring, they're so unnecessary, and their like entire, like their whole stink, the whole chip on their shoulder thing doesn't really hold up to scrutiny, I don't think. And I mean, the movie itself does comment on that, but it's something that I've kind of learned over time that in a general sense, it's not really enjoyable watching people just be dicks to each other.
Right, exactly. And that is, I think, a part of the problem towards the beginning. And I feel it's one of those things where I can't decide if I would have preferred it or not, but like they laid it on pretty thick with Timothy Olyphant and his traumatic brain injury and all the ways he's killed people and that he was in Iraq.
And that he can't be killed.
Exactly. And I was like, on the one hand, it was also kind of a good misdirect, but on the other hand, they laid it on so thick that I could like tell it was a misdirect.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's part of what I was like, well, it clearly can't be him because they're, like, shining the light so hard on him.
I think the movie would have benefited from at least 2, if not 4 more characters to get us in a bit more of an Agatha Christie.
Well, I was going to say, if those girls had stuck around, those girls from the beginning, if they had stuck around, and that's the other thing, is they were like, well, at the beginning, it was really weird to me when they were like, they stumbled upon those girls on the hiking trail as well, and they were like, there's been a murder, and it just was like, they got so terrified as soon as they found out that Mila Jovovich and Steve Zahn were newlyweds, and they like immediately were like booking it the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's obviously better because we know they survived, but at the same time, it's like, there was a murder 5 islands away. Why are you worried about it?
That was what I started to say when I interrupted you, as I started to say, or there needed to be, another body or 2.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think the stakes, because I think that while, and we're probably dealing with, David, you said Tui?
Tui.
We're probably dealing with a thing where it's like he's a really, really great storyteller and just a decent screenwriter. Because It's like, to have the bulk of the movie be conversation between 4 strangers, you need to be a really gifted screenwriter.
Yeah, and that's the thing where this is not a bad movie, and it's not a bad script. It's a pretty good story. Like, it's a pretty good, pretty interesting story. It's just a medium script. And like, that's not, you can come back from that. And I think this movie does an admirable job. It's just maybe not my favorite.
And I think it's one of the ones where the sum is worth more than the whole of its parts. Or,
yes.
Did I say that wrong?
No, the parts are worth more than what they make up.
Oh no, I mean the opposite. I think altogether it's better than the individual parts of it.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair.
There's like a reveal. And literally once we get to the reveal, both of our attitudes towards the movie changed. And so it's like, I think subconsciously as audience members, we're aware that the movie's withholding something from us.
Sure.
And once everything's out in the open, the movie dramatically improves and makes the whole thing worth it, I think.
Yeah.
And there's something interesting, I think, because it's like where Timothy Olyphant in particular, but both him and Kylie Sanchez are really annoying to me in the first half, and you were right, all of his stories and stuff and all that. I think there is something really interesting about establishing a character like that and then actually challenging that character, like seeing if it, because it's commented on within the movie whether or not he's full of shit, and based on the ending, I would say not really.
Yeah, not really.
There is a reveal, and it is a very lengthy reveal because
they spent way too much time on that.
And I don't know how the movie could be different, because it was funny when we were watching the movie, Will took the dog out and he like sat outside with the dog and came back in, and it was still the flashback.
Right.
And because the flashback is like everything's blue and oversaturated. And he was like, is this a 10-minute flashback? And I was like, well, now that the cards are finally on the table, they have to fill in all the blanks.
Yeah, but I don't think they needed to.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think we needed Kylie and, I don't remember their names, sorry, but we needed Kylie and Timothy Olyphant's backstory.
Yeah.
And
I
think
Nick and Gina. Yeah.
And if we saw that stuff before, we would be less suspicious of them.
Yeah, but that, to me, I don't need to know that. Once the movie is telling me that Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich are trying to kill Kylie Sanchez and Timothy Olyphant, that's all I need. I didn't really need the backstory. And while I don't hate it, and while I love actually having Mila Jovovich as more of a gray figure in the movie, it was that was the 8 minutes that could have been cut to keep this a tight 90. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I like it. I like, especially the engagement ring.
That is very cute. That was very cute. I did like that part. Yeah.
The other thing is that, and again, it's like I enjoy this information because the movie risks not making any sense because effectively our protagonists are the villains.
Right.
And so there are scenes where we are witnessing them before we know. We're witnessing them talk about these murderers on the loose in a way that could ring hollow. And when there is the big reveal, we're kind of taken back to all of those scenes and shown the rest of the conversation and how it, like, when we were only shown half of it, it seemed like they're worried about it. But when we're showing like the whole thing, they're like worried other people have figured it out and stuff.
Right,
and
exactly.
like, so
I mean, like, that's interesting. And You know, I might want to walk back a little bit of my comments about Mila Jovovich because I was just remembering that movie, The Fourth Kind, also.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually pretty great at movies like this.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
be
she's
honest.
a genre queen. She's absolutely
definitely
a genre queen.
person. I just think there's a difference between Mila Jovovich and, like, Amy Adams. Obviously.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about it with. But she is actually super excellent at stuff like this.
I think she's a Jennifer Lopez.
Sure, yeah, Jennifer Lopez or a Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah, we think they're great, but they
Throw
have
her in there.
They have a thing that they do.
Mila Jovovich also shares my birthday, so I've always felt a little kinship with her.
I forget that. But so basically, yeah, once you get to the second, probably 40 minutes of the movie, I find it thrilling.
Yeah.
And most importantly, fun. Like, it's even funny in weird ways. And
it is pretty funny.
it takes a turn with the violence that I actually welcome. It was such a perfect amount of gratuitous. Like, there are several very violent shots that we were squirming and reacting to, but it was in a fun way. It was
I will say, if you have any issue with teeth, you are going to want to look away at a certain point.
You don't see it. You don't see it at all, but
I could hear it.
He kills some people and pulls their teeth out.
Yeah, it's awful.
I'm going to repeat myself, but it couldn't have been a more perfect balance where it was like, if there were one more, wound, it would have been too much.
Sure,
and that's just the scene where Timothy Olyphant puts his head back together.
Mm-hmm.
It just, like I said, we were squirming, but it was like fun. Like, it was like, oh my God, oh! That I just think is such a tricky thing to pull off with such a masterful hand. Honestly, once all the cards are on the table, the movie finally, kicks into gear. And I think it's got a great ending. It's a happy ending. And sometimes one of the things, and it's actually one of the best scenes in the movie, but one of the things that it almost breaks the movie for me is when the four dudes come upon Kylie Sanchez.
Yeah.
It's one of my least favorite tropes in movies, and it's no good deed goes unpunished.
Well, even before that, it almost breaks the movie for me because Kylie Sanchez is clearly terrified and terrorized and is like, he's coming for me. He's right behind me. He's going to be here any minute. And they're like trying to pin her down and give her medical treatment. Four dudes and Kylie Sanchez. And
one of them says he's an EMT.
I get it. I mean, like, I didn't think they were going to try to rape her or anything, but I was like, this woman is terrified. Take her away from the spot you're at. Mm-hmm. She can clearly walk. And then they don't. And then Steve Zahn gets there. And like you said, no good deed goes unpunished. And they get murdered.
But it's actually, yes. And like I said, it comes close to breaking the movie, but not entirely, because it is a good scene. He gives such a performance and you really think that he's gonna get away with it. And then he tells them that she's high on crystal meth, and the EMT, they've accepted his story and they're literally about to leave. And the EMT goes, that's great and all. And he goes, but if she's high, why are her people's normal and yours are the size of olives? Yeah. And Steve Zahn just goes, it was such a good story, dude, and just shoots them in the head. And I just so it's stuff like that I think, like I said, it comes close, but ultimately I think it's one of the more memorable scenes of the whole movie. So
yeah, and I will say, I do think the casting was pitch perfect for stuff like that, because Steve Zahn has always been an unassuming kind of doofy dude in movies. And so in that instance, it was really very good. I did actually end up enjoying it, probably 50% more than I thought I was going to.
It usually does happen. Mm-hmm. A lot of times.
I mean, that's the thing. You always say I'm game for stuff. You just have to kind of convince me, and we didn't have anything else going this afternoon, so I was like, fine.
I made you watch Van Helsing once, and from then on, you always think I'm trying to make you watch that, and I know who killed me.
Your attitudes are, opinions are suspect.
So, okay, I think that's a good assessment of the movie. So I think
we're gonna go watch Savages,
and we'll report back when we're done.
Yeah, sounds good.
Bye. Or well,
bye
no.
For now. Bye for now.
See you soon. We are back, and we just watched Savages.
Yes.
For context, Savages is a 2012 American crime thriller directed by Oliver Stone. It is based on Don Winslow's novel of the same name. The screenplay was written by Shane Salerno. Yeah, Salerno. Stone and Winslow. The film was released on July 6th, blah, 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 to mixed reviews. It has like a 50, like a straight down the middle 50.
Straight 50?
Yeah. And stars Taylor Kitsch, Blake Lively, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Demian, is that the guy that you like?
Yeah, Demian Bashir.
Bashir, okay. Benicio del Toro, Salma Hayek, John Travolta, and Emil Hirsch. Basically, there's like a throuple. It's I did not learn the characters' names. It's Ben and Chach, right?
John.
Okay, yeah, John.
But it sounds like there's like John for the first 30 minutes. So when I looked at the like captions, I was like, oh, that's terrible.
Basically, they're kind of like entrepreneurial pot growers in Laguna Beach, and a fictional drug cartel called the Baja Cartel is being pushed north and tries to move in on them. And when they refuse, the Baja Cartel steals their girlfriend, and hilarity ensues.
It's not really hilarity.
I don't know what all we're going to say about this. We're not going to really chart the plot. I don't know that I could if I tried.
No, probably not.
So let's just, right out of the gate, spoilers, all that. What did you think?
I liked A Perfect Getaway better.
Okay.
I did.
Are you surprised?
You're surprised?
I said, are you surprised?
A little. It's one of those things, despite the fact that I have not ever loved an Oliver Stone movie. I just feel like he has this cachet that I feel like I should love everything that I see that he makes. And so I went into it thinking, well, this is going to be like a better movie. And some aspects of it are better.
It was certainly a bigger movie.
Yeah, but I found myself bored some of the time, which I feel like I shouldn't be in a Mexican drug cartel movie. That features Benicio del Toro, Salma Hayek, and Demian Bashir, who I all love a lot. It also, I know you've told me that it goes deeper in the books, but
I think I was actually Googling while we were watching it, and I wasn't finding really concrete evidence, but I thought the nature of the three of their relationship was explored more in the books.
Because I don't love that they're in this throuple, and we never see the boys even touch each other. It's, like, stupid.
But you didn't hate it.
No, I didn't hate it. It was, I love Blake Lively. I think she did a good job. Her scenes, I perked up every time she had scenes with Salma Hayek, because those scenes were spectacular.
That's what I was going to get to, is I was going to say that it is very funny that I'm the one that brought this movie to the table, because I hate organized crime, and I absolutely hate Mexican drug cartel. But, there's always a way that I would be into something, and it's like if I were to be into, like,
bisexual throuple is the way for it to go.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a very stylish movie, for better and worse. Sometimes I think the style kind of is a detraction, and sometimes I think it's the only thing the movie has going for it. I find the movie the most interesting when it's implying things, or when it's like insinuating things. And I mean, this is a very me and a very us take, but I can tell the both of us, we were like, we lit up anytime that Blake Lively and Salma Hayek had material together.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's something that's actually very interesting to explore. It's not Stockholm Syndrome, but it's like when people are in these positions and they're forced to interact with each other.
Yeah.
And you can see, Salma Hayek, you can see very clearly that Salma Hayek likes Blake Lively, that she likes Ophelia, even without her daughter, the connection with her daughter. And again, the implication of their relationship is hinted at several times in the movie. And again, it's a very me thing. It's on brand for me, but it's the most fascinated I am with the movie. Is there's a line where Salma Hayek just goes, "There's something wrong with your love story," to Blake Lively. And she was like, "They'll never love you as much as they love each other." And
but we have no evidence of that. Nor does Salma Hayek.
True,
so it's
I guess.
I get the notion they were going with that line. But the one that really hit me was Blake Lively asks about Salma Hayek's daughter, and she says she's very ashamed of me, and I'm very proud of her for that. And I just was like, that's a wild thing to posit. I really, really, really liked that. And then I just was like, more of that. But it's like 90% of this movie is like dudes with guns talking shit at each other and then getting tortured. And I was like, that's not my bag, baby.
Mm-hmm. It is very violent, considering that it's I'll even go with and say it's a pretty movie. Well, it's colorful. I mentioned to you guys when we were starting it, but I really liked the poster for it, and I'll use that poster on the Instagram if you want to see it, but it kind of paints a picture as to what the movie's like. And but I had that same issue with the script, and I think part of it might be a problem with adapting a book, and also knowing now that the author of the book wrote on the script. I can see how like some lines might be really good and some lines are not, because you're right, that line was really good. And then there was the one in the beginning where Will just completely checked out of the movie, where she's having sex with Aaron Taylor Johnson, and she's like, I have orgasms, and he has wargasms.
Yeah, that was when she was having sex with Taylor Kitsch, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And Will was just like, okay, I'm going to go give the dog a bath.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out right now.
I don't love her narration. I think narration is tricky.
It is tricky. I don't think it's through any fault of Blake Lively's. I think it goes back to the same thing of the book, where like when you're reading words, and like I have used this example so many times, when I read the Twilight books, it's not as horrible as when Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson say the words on camera. Mm-hmm. And so it's like she's saying these ridiculous things in this like really sort of breathy, artsy Oliver Stone voiceover, and it's supposed to be like deep and meaningful and beautiful, and it just sounds like garbage.
She actually caught a lot of flack for this movie. She shouldn't have. I was glancing at the reviews, and more than one of them talk about how awful she is. And I don't know that I would go as far as to say she's amazing. I think she's one of those who is more suited to comedy.
I can agree with that.
She's like Megan Fox in that way a little bit, where I think people write her off as like, a pretty face and an it girl of her time that the world has sort of passed by. But when given like actually appropriate material, they can really shine.
I was going to say she was great in The Town.
You thought she was? Okay.
Yeah, and that's not a funny role. I mean, I think she is good at comedy, but I think she just needs the right material and the right director. And from everything I know about Oliver Stone, he's kind of a hard ass. And I don't know that that's necessarily the environment that she thrives in.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that I found really interesting when I was looking at the reviews. I was reading all of the quotes. And this is one of those movies where not only was it a 50-50, but the pull quotes from reviewers were wildly contradictory. Like one will say that it's slow in the beginning, but then picks up in the end. And then the very next review will be like, the movie completely loses control of itself in the end. And, it's like, so it's that sort of polarizing of a movie. And I do honestly have to say that I find the plot a little bit baffling, that given all of these pieces, given these themes and these things to explore, that it really feels like it just barely manages to skirt the surface. And I do find the plot a little bit convoluted in an unnecessary way. Like I feel like it kind of turns in on itself a lot of times. Yeah,
I feel like it was either missing one character or it needed to lose three.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like it needed one more thing or three fewer things. Mm-hmm. And that's I think my biggest complaint, because I could have dealt without Benicio del Toro.
Absolutely.
He's and again, not to say he did a bad job. He's always great. He's Benicio del Toro. Of course he's great. But, like, his presence was not required for this movie.
No, and it's like, this is a Mexican drug cartel movie, so we're going to be dealing with violence, we're going to be dealing with racism, we're going to be dealing with sexism, we're going to be dealing with a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. But whenever whenever you have subject matter like that, our stance is not that you can't do it, but it's like, why are you doing it? And there's a handful of things.
You need to make your case for it.
Yeah, there's a handful of those things in this movie where it was like he was just given a checklist, and he was like, rape, racial slur, homophobic slur, he had to go through and make sure that he'd crossed every single one of them off the list, and they weren't all story motivators. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is just sort of like adding to what we started off saying, but I really liked Selma Hayek.
Yeah.
I could have used more of her.
I could have used her earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. Earlier in the movie, and then like replacing part of Benicio del Toro's stuff.
She's there in the very beginning, but we're just seeing her. Mm-hmm. She's not like talking. She's not communicating. I like honestly how matter-of-fact she is about everything.
Yeah.
That she's not like Benicio del Toro. You know what I mean? She's not this, like this is actually a job for her, and it's a job she happens to be very good at, but she's not getting off on it.
Right.
I think that that's a really interesting approach, and I would have enjoyed more time with the woman. Like, I wish her and Blake Lively had a few more scenes together.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the kind of thing that would have made for a better miniseries, but
that could be.
Because then all the pieces could really be given time. Because it really does threaten you with like a Byzantine level of things. Because what ended up happening with Emil Hirsch? I mean, did he end up actually playing any role in the movie?
He was just washing their money.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have a very vivid memory of him being killed, and that didn't happen. So maybe there's a deleted scene. Although, okay, so there was first of all, Jennifer Lawrence was originally cast as Ophelia.
I did see that.
Did you see Uma Thurman?
As her mother, yeah.
Uh-huh. And it's so funny because her scenes were cut. I don't know if they're on the Blu-ray we didn't watch, but it's so funny because the scene where they go to kidnap Magda, they like burst in the room and there's like a white dude, like an Abercrombie and Fitch model for like a half a second, and they just throw him on the ground. And in my mind, I was like, that's fucking Trevor Donovan. I know Trevor Donovan. I know what he looks like, even from the back of the head. And so when I pulled up the Wikipedia, I was looking, it was him. His scenes were cut.
Oh.
He
was in the scene previous when Magda was having sex with a dude.
Was that him?
Yeah, it was. I think it was the same guy.
Okay, well, I didn't recognize him then. Maybe I was looking at her, but it was just funny to me that I was like, I know that cheekbone. And he auditioned for one of the boys, and Oliver liked him, and so like made that part, and then it ended up being cut. But
funny.
I saw a lot of criticisms of their relationship. A lot of the reviews I saw and critics said that it wasn't believable, that it was like dull and boring. And I never really found them dull. I actually found them to just be quite comfortable.
And I think dull and boring are the wrong words. I think, comfortable, and like it feels like they've been in a long-term relationship with each other. And
to sort of repeat, I do find it frustrating that the most interesting thing about this movie, and frankly, the thing the movie is probably famous for, is so of little consequence in the movie. Like, we don't actually spend more time on it.
Yeah, we watch her have sex with both of them, but we don't ever see them so much as, like, hug each other. And then she's kidnapped, and it's just the dudes together, and they don't seek comfort from each other that their girlfriend is missing. It just was it was like, why did you even like allude to that part of the book if you weren't gonna follow through? Aaron Taylor Johnson would do it.
I think that, I really do think they absolutely should have had, because it would have been wild if they both slept with her, but then later on they kissed each other or something like that,
or even if they just woke up in bed together or something.
Because that one scene where he tells him that he loves him, it's like, it feels like that's the first time they're saying that. And
right.
It just, I don't know. That's the only real bummer for me, is that the thing that the movie is kind of most famous for is such of such little consequence in the movie. So, I guess it depends on what you're into. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? You really scoffed towards the end.
I mean, how many times did they have to say savages in this movie? That
was one of them. Oh my God.
It was like 100,000 times they said the word savages in this movie.
They said it 8 times. Because we wanted to start doing the thing where we write down the title, who says it, and when.
Yeah.
And so I wrote down that Taylor Kitsch says it at the 15-minute mark. And then other character, it like is said like 7 more times throughout the movie.
Ridiculous.
And you were like, oh my God. and especially with the last time, it's like Blake Lively's voiceover, and she's like, Webster's dictionary defines savage.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my God.
like a fucking bad wedding toast.
It's not a hard recommendation, and it's the kind of thing where it's like, if this is your wheelhouse and you might like it, if honestly, because there are people who are into this sort of thing, but it's like, if you're interested by subtext in movies or potential in movies, I mean, I've liked a lot of movies based on what they could have been.
Well, it's not that I didn't like it. I'm glad I watched it, but like now I'm good. Like, I don't need to watch it again.
I also don't find it nearly as disturbing as some of the other ones, because like we watched Sicario a couple years ago, and that one actually deeply disturbed me.
Yeah.
In a way that this one just felt like a video game.
Yeah, I see that.
So medium.
couple of medium movies. One better than the other.
So, I think that's it. Do you have anything else that you want to add, or?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I enjoyed them both enough. I definitely enjoyed A Perfect Getaway better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more. I thought it was a better movie all around, I think. A more enjoyable experience all around. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then, yeah, I guess as always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching, Instagram at So I'm Watching This Show. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. Was there really anything you want to add to the Spotify playlist? Probably not. No. Well, we do still have the Spotify playlist, So I'm Watching This Show, the music. We also have our website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including our Patreon. And other than that, just please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen.
Mm-hmm.
Bye!